Part 1, Segment 1, The Warning in Blood. The road to Dunraith was a ribbon of mist and silence. Dr. Ewan MacRae had been driving for 6 hours when the last radio signal died somewhere past Inverness. Beyond that, it was only the hum of the engine, the low growl of wind between the hills, and the occasional flicker of sheep eyes reflecting in the headlights. He slowed the Land Rover as the fog thickened, the kind that clings to the ground and moves like breath. The GPS had given up 20 miles ago, leaving him to rely on the faded paper map he'd bought at a petrol station. Somewhere beyond the next ridge lay Croft na Gawath, the House of Wind, where he'd rented a small cottage to study old Gaelic funeral chants. He told himself this was research. He told himself it was rational. But the Highlands had a way of peeling logic away, layer by layer, until only instinct remained. He reached Dunraith just before dusk, or what passed for dusk in late October, when the daylight seemed to die reluctantly. The village was barely more than a handful of stone houses huddled around a single street. The windows were boarded, the chimneys silent. The only sign of life was a pub whose lights flickered behind fogged glass, the Sea Stag. Ewan parked beside a rusted postbox and stepped out. The cold bit hard, salt, peat smoke, iron. Somewhere distant, the wind carried the faint rhythm of a drum. Or maybe it was his heart. The pub door creaked open. A man with shoulders like a cliff and eyes like slate leaned out. "Ye must be MacRae," he said. "From the university." Ewan nodded. "Dr. Ewan MacRae. I called about the cottage. Croft na Gawath. Morag Kirlby expectant, ye." The man wiped his hands on a rag and gestured him inside. "Name's Fergus McIver. Ferg to the few who can stand me." Inside, the air was thick with peat smoke and whiskey. Antlers lined the walls. Nets, ropes, and old rifles hung above the bar like relics from another age. Ferg poured 2 glasses of Talisker without asking. "You'll need this," he said. "Samhain's near. Folk don't linger out past sunset these days." Ewan took the glass, the warmth biting his throat. "I thought Samhain was more of an old story now. A seasonal festival." Ferg barked a humorless laugh. "In Edinburgh, maybe. But here? The veil's thin, Doctor. Things walk when the wind turns widdershins." He reached behind the bar and placed something on the counter, a coil of rope, pale and strange-looking, almost like cued skin. "Deer hide," Ferg said when Ewan frowned. "Stretched with salt. Stronger than any nylon. Ye'll take it, trust me. Ye'll need it if ye hear the pines whisper." Ewan hesitated. "You're serious?" Ferg's expression didn't change. "And if Morag comes knocking, after dark, ye open the door. But no one else. Not for anything, that sounds like kin." He said it like a prayer, then looked away. The fire snapped in the hearth, casting a flicker of orange on the mounted skull of a stag above the bar. By the time Ewan left the pub, the sky had turned the color of burnt iron. The last light bled across the moor. He drove another mile through winding, frost-hardened tracks until the headlights caught the shape of a cottage perched alone on the slope, stone walls black with age, chimney coughing a thread of smoke. Croft na Gawath. He parked beside the gate. The wind carried a thin, whistling tone, almost like a voice half singing, half sobbing. The sound seemed to come from the forest beyond the moor, a dense spread of pines that rose like a black sea against the stars. As he lifted his suitcase from the boot, something moved near the tree line. A figure, or the shadow of one, watching. But when he blinked, it was gone. Inside, the croft smelled of salt and something old. The furniture was sparse, a table, a cot, a stone hearth. On the mantelpiece stood a faded photograph of soldiers in World War II uniforms. One woman among them wore a nurse's cap, younger, sharper eyes, but unmistakable, Morag Kerr. He was unpacking his recording gear when the first knock came. 3 sharp raps, slow and deliberate. Ewan checked his watch, 4:44 p.m. He opened the door. Morag Kerr stood there, wrapped in a wool shawl, her face carved by time and Highland weather. Her grey eyes burned with alertness, the kind of gaze that could see straight through pretense. "Ye came," she said simply. "Good. The Croft remembers blood." Before Ewan could answer, she held up a folded sheet of parchment, dark and brittle. The smell hit first, iron and decay. It was goatskin. And written across it, in faded brown streaks, were words that made his throat close. "If ye break one rule, ye'll not just die, ye'll feed the compact for the next 77 years. Ewan looked up. "What is this?" Morag's lips thinned. "It's a warning. Written by my grandmother. With her own blood. She died on Samhain, 1943, same hour the veil split." The fire crackled behind them, casting moving shadows on her face. "She wrote of 8, Morag whispered. 8 who hunt the living for salt and memory. The compact keeps them fed. Keeps us safe, till it's broken." She stepped inside without asking and began circling the room, eyes scanning the windows, the hearth, the corners. "Salt," she muttered. "Ye none spread yet. Ferg should have told ye." "He did," Ewan said, uncertain whether to laugh. "Cross of salt, deer-hide rope, don't open doors for anyone who sounds like kin." He was very folkloric. Her head snapped toward him. "Do I sound like a tale to ye, Doctor?" The silence that followed was heavy, absolute. Outside, the wind rose, rattling the panes. "I'm sorry," Ewan said finally. "I didn't mean disrespect." Morag's shoulders loosened slightly. "Good. Then ye'll listen. The veil opens at sundown, on the 31st. Till dawn, ye'll hear knocking, crying, laughing, whispering. They'll use voices ye know. But if ye answer," she looked at the parchment again, "they'll take the salt from your bones." She placed the parchment on the table and took out a small wooden bowl from her shawl. Inside it was coarse, grey sea salt. She poured a thin circle around the table legs, murmuring in Gaelic, the words low and rolling like thunder beneath the floorboards. "Cha till iad," she whispered. "They will not return." When she finished, she looked at him again. "Lock your doors, Macrae. Keep the lamps low. If ye dream of the forest, wake yourself. The pines are hungry this year." Then, without another word, she stepped back into the mist and was gone. The fog swallowed her whole. Night fell fast. Ewan sat at the table, staring at the blood-written warning. He ran a fingertip along the parchment. The texture was wrong, too fresh, too soft. Almost tacky. He held it close to the firelight. The blood glistened. Impossible. The document was supposed to be 80 years old. A knock echoed from the roof, 1, 2, 3, soft, like fingernails on slate. He froze. The fireplace hissed. Somewhere in the walls, something moved, a faint scraping sound, like sand sliding inside wood. He swallowed hard, forced a laugh. "Wind," he muttered. "Just wind." But when he looked at the window, the fog outside had shifted. A shape stood behind the glass, small, unmoving. Watching. He blinked. The shape was gone. He went to the window. The salt bowl on the sill trembled slightly, the grains inside forming a perfect cross by themselves. The air grew heavy, metallic. The smell of iron and wet earth filled the room. The whisper came next, so soft he thought it was the wind at first. "Ewan." He turned sharply. "Nothing." just the creak of old wood and his own pulse hammering in his ears. He shut the curtains and backed away. The air felt wrong, charged, like the pause before lightning. He grabbed the deer-hide rope Ferg had given him, wrapping it around the front door's latch. A ridiculous superstition, he told himself. But his hands were shaking. Outside, the fog pulsed like something alive. He sat by the hearth until exhaustion blurred his thoughts. The fire burned low. At some point, he must have drifted off. When he woke, the clock read 3:03 a.m. The fire was out. The air had turned glacial. The smell of salt, gone. And from the doorway came the faint sound of breathing. Slow. Wet. Childlike. Ewan's eyes adjusted to the dark. A small handprint was pressed against the inside of the window, 5 fingers, streaked red. He didn't move. Didn't breathe. Then a whisper, close to his ear, though no one stood beside him. If ye break one rule. Segment 2, Salt and Rope. The handprint on the glass was still there at dawn, 5 perfect smears of red, but when Ewan leaned closer, it wasn't blood. It was dust. A fine, rust-colored grit clinging to the frost like sand. When he touched it, it pulsed faintly warm, as if it remembered the hand that made it. He scraped a bit into a test vial. Old habits, evidence, analysis, control. But his fingers trembled when he sealed the cap. Outside, the Highlands lay hushed under a sky the color of pewter. The mist had thickened overnight, hanging low over the moor, turning everything flat and soundless. No birds. No wind. Just the dull heartbeat in his ears. The words on the parchment, "Ye'll feed the compact for the next 77 years, glowed faintly in the grey light, as if the blood had soaked deeper into the page while he slept. He burned the edge with a match. The flame sputtered out after 2 seconds. The parchment was cold, wet from the inside. He dropped it. It hissed where it touched the floorboards. By noon, the fog hadn't lifted. Ewan spent the morning stringing salt lines around the croft, 4 crosses at each window, 1 bowl on the mantel. He spoke to himself to keep steady. Rationalize it. Superstition's a psychological artifact. You documenting belief systems, not feeding them. But even as he said it, he checked every lock twice. He uncoiled Ferg's deer-hide rope. It felt alive, smooth but faintly pulsing, as if veins ran under its surface. He looped it across the door, tying it in the old sailor's knot he'd learned from a fisherman years ago. The moment it tightened, the air felt heavier, denser, like the croft itself was holding its breath. That was when the second knock came. Soft. Polite. Mid-afternoon. 3 taps, pause, 2 more. He looked through the window. Nothing. When he opened the door, only fog waited, thick, endless, moving like a tide. The moor beyond had vanished. But on the doorstep lay something small, a toy horse, carved crudely from ash wood. Its legs were gone, just nubs, and its surface was scorched black. He turned it over. Etched into the underside were 3 words in faded Gaelic. They come walking. A cold wind blew from nowhere and carried the scent of iron. Ewan shut the door hard, locking it twice. At 4 in the afternoon, he drove into Dunraith for more salt. The fog followed him, curling between the trees like smoke. The forest road was silent except for the occasional pop of gravel under his tires. When he reached Ferg's shop, the closed sign was already flipped. But Ferg appeared anyway, opening the door a crack. "Christ, ye look like ye seen a wraith," he muttered. "Come in quick." Inside, the shop was lit only by a lantern. The shelves were lined with tools, rifles, ropes, and sacks of coarse sea salt. Behind the counter, Ferg was wrapping something in burlap. Ewan told him about the handprint, the dust, the toy. Ferg listened without blinking. When Ewan finished, he poured him another whiskey and said, "That'll be N.A. Batakian for lamb." The hollow children. Ewan froze. "You saying they are real?" Ferg snorted. "Real enough that my brother went missing in 77, right on Samhain. Left only his footprints in salt. They are real." He reached under the counter and handed Ewan a silver mirror, old and tarnished. "Take this too. They don't like seeing themselves. If ye catch a shape without reflection, don't stare longer than a blink." Ewan pocketed it, though the scientist in him screamed at the absurdity. But the look in Ferg's eyes, that heavy, resigned dread, silenced argument. "Ye stay indoors tomorrow night," Ferg said. "No matter what ye hear. And if Morag comes again, ye listen to her. She knows the old rules better than the church." When Ewan stepped back outside, the fog swallowed the road in seconds. By the time he returned to the croft, the world felt smaller, as if Dunraith itself had vanished behind a wall of mist. That night, he recorded his notes by candlelight. October 30th, 2311. Unexplained auditory and visual disturbances. Possibly sleep deprivation combined with environmental stresses. But the dust sample shows organic residue, hemoglobin trace? Testing tomorrow. The wind rose around midnight, whistling through the cracks. The deer-hide rope creaked. Ewan lay on the cot, awake, listening to the croft breathe. Then, footsteps. Light, deliberate. Circling the house. He sat up. The sound moved along the outside wall, shuffling, then a tap-tap on the glass. He forced himself to look. At first, he saw nothing but fog. Then, a face. Small. Pale. Eyes like black coal. The mouth too wide, grinning, lips split to the cheeks. The girl was maybe 7. She wore a tattered black funeral dress from another century. And she was standing inside the line of salt. Ewan froze. The silver mirror, he pulled it from his coat, angling it toward the window. Her reflection wasn't there. Just fog. And his own trembling face. She tilted her head, curious. Then she lifted her hand and knocked again, soft, rhythmic, almost playful. Tap. 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 Ewan whispered to himself, "Don't open. Don't speak." Her smile widened, stretching until it looked painted on. Then she started hitting her forehead against the glass. Once. Twice. The third time, the pane cracked. The fourth, it shattered. Ewan fell backward as the shards rained across the floor, but the girl didn't step inside. She just leaned forward through the opening, her hair floating as if underwater. He saw it then, no eyes. Just dark pits, and inside them, a swirling red dust. He crawled toward the table, grabbed the salt bowl, and flung it at the window. The moment the salt hit the frame, the girl shrieked, not like a child, but like a wind tearing through steel. Her skin split open, not bleeding but spilling red sand that hissed when it touched the air. The wind blew so violently that every candle went out. The temperature dropped, breath freezing in front of him. The croft shook. When the dust cleared, the girl was gone. Only the cracked window remained, and a pile of red grains on the floor. He didn't sleep that night. He sat by the window with Ferg's rope in one hand, the silver mirror in the other, waiting for dawn. But nothing else came. Only silence. By morning, the red dust had crusted like dried clay. He swept it into a jar, labeled it Sample 2. He told himself he'd send it to the university lab in Edinburgh, if he made it back. He went outside. The fog was retreating at last, revealing the moor, but something had changed. Across the grass, all the way to the tree line, were footprints. Small ones. dozens, leading toward the forest. And halfway there, they just stopped, as if the children had sunk into the earth. Ewan followed the prints to the edge of the woods. The air smelled faintly of resin and rot. Something whispered through the pines, the same sound he'd heard on his first night. Owen. Owen MacRae. It was Gaelic, his name, in a woman's voice. He froze. "Who's there?" he called. No answer, only the sigh of wind between branches. He turned to head back, but there was someone standing behind him. Morag Kerr. Except she looked different. Her shawl gone, her hair undone, eyes distant as sleepwalkers. She held something in her hands, a deer skull, carved with runes. "Ye broke the quiet," she said softly. Ewan stared. What are you talking about?" "The hollow ones don't come unless called. Ye saw, didn't ye? The sand in their blood." Her voice trembled with anger and grief. "Every time someone watches too long, they remember the taste of salt. Ye've woken them, Doctor." "I didn't do anything. I didn't even open the door." Morag stepped closer, shadows cutting across her face. The compact stirring. "The others'll come now. The mimics first, then the gentle man." Her eyes flicked toward the trees. "Ye've got 2 days. Maybe less." Then she pressed the deer skull into his hands. It was warm, almost pulsing. "When ye hear your mother's voice," she whispered, "bite your tongue till it bleeds. Only blood keeps the lie from answering." Before he could speak, she was already walking away, swallowed by fog that hadn't been there a moment ago. Ewan stood alone at the edge of the forest, clutching the skull. The pines whispered his name again, but softer now, almost tender. He turned back toward the croft. On the path leading home, the toy horse he'd found yesterday was waiting. Only now it had its legs again. Standing upright. Facing him. Segment 3, The Voices of the Dead. By the time Samhain arrived, the Highlands had gone quiet. No birds. No sheep. Not even the distant hum of Ferg's generator in Dunraith. Just wind, low, constant, circling the valley like something searching for a door. Ewan spent the day fortifying the croft. He drove nails into the window frames, strung the deer-hide rope across the back entrance, and poured every last grain of sea salt he had into wide crosses on the floor. The air smelled sharp, metallic. When he breathed, the dust motes hung too long, as if the house were underwater. He turned on the recorder. October 31st, 1754. Final night of observation. Ambient pressure, dropping fast. Fog thick as milk. Subjects unknown. Possible collective hallucination, auditory variant? Must remain objective. But the word objective sounded hollow now. The tape hissed on, and he realized his hand was trembling so hard the mic picked up the sound. He stopped the recording, exhaled slowly, and looked toward the window. Outside, the mist had turned red. By 6 p.m., the first sound came, a soft humming, distant, almost like a lullaby. He froze, listening. The melody was familiar. A Gaelic cradle song. Cadle, mo grade, cadle gu samhack. Sleep, my love, sleep in peace. His mother used to sing that when he was 5. He went cold all over. The voice drifted closer. It was hers. Clear, warm, fragile. Ewan, open the door, son. Mummy's here. He clenched his jaw. It's not real, he whispered. It's mimicry. Auditory projection. It's cold out here, darling. Please. I'm freezing. He bit the inside of his cheek until he tasted blood, sharp and real. Then came another voice, male, older, weary. Professor Calder, his mentor from the university. The man who'd hanged himself last winter. Ewan, I was wrong. About the compact. It's not myth. It's feeding still. You have to. Stop, Ewan said through clenched teeth. You not him. You left me to die, Ewan. You made me go there. The voice cracked into static, then laughter, the sound of dry paper tearing. He backed away from the window, covering his ears. But the voices didn't stop. They came from the walls now, from the floorboards, whispering his name in tones of affection, sorrow, rage. He screamed, "Shut up!" For a heartbeat, silence. Then, knock knock knock. Right behind him. The door. The same rhythm as before, 3 taps, pause, 2 more. He turned slowly. Ewan, his mother's voice said, trembling. Please, let me in. The deer-hide rope on the door tightened by itself, creaking. The wood around the hinges swelled, black veins spreading through the grain. He grabbed the silver mirror from his desk and held it toward the door. There was no reflection, only darkness where the doorway should be. And in that darkness, 2 faint red glows, eyes, watching him from the other side. He stumbled backward, tripping over the salt line. The whispers stopped. The air froze solid. Then, the lights went out. The darkness was absolute. He could hear only the sound of his own breathing, shallow, too fast. Then, a faint scraping noise, from the window. He turned, holding the mirror like a shield. The glass was bending inward. Not breaking, bending, as if pressed by enormous weight. A shape moved behind it, tall, impossibly thin, with antlers branching from its head like black coral. Fear ban. Ewan couldn't breathe. The figure stood motionless outside the window, its body wrapped in what looked like a deer's skin turned inside out. A skull of bone and horn covered its face, and beneath the mask, movement, like muscles crawling without flesh. It lifted one elongated hand and pressed it to the window. The glass hissed under the touch, blackening in a spiral. Ewan stumbled to the table, groping for the salt bowl, but his fingers knocked it over. Grains scattered across the floor. The line broke. The creature's head tilted, like a bird studying prey. The window shattered. He fell backward as shards of glass sprayed the room. The wind howled through the opening, full of voices, laughter, screams, whispers overlapping like a storm. Through the blur of motion, Ewan saw the figure glide forward, not walking, floating. Its legs hung inches above the floor. Wherever it passed, frost spread in fractal veins. He crawled toward the stairs, lungs burning. The air tasted of rot and iron. Behind him, the creature stopped at the threshold of the broken salt line. It reached out a hand, long and bone-white, and pressed against the air, as though feeling for something unseen. The deer-hide rope on the door snapped in half. Ewan ran. He reached the upstairs landing, heart slamming. The mirror slipped from his pocket, shattered on the steps, but for a split second before it broke, he saw it. Not just one figure behind him, several. Shadows crawling along the walls, eyes blooming like fungus across the ceiling. He slammed the attic door shut and threw the bolt. Inside, darkness. Only the flicker of his phone's flashlight, battery at 7%. He crouched near the window, chest heaving, listening. Below, the floorboards groaned, slow, heavy steps moving through the croft. Then, silence. And a voice, from directly behind him. Ye shouldna have come, Ewan. He spun, the light jerking across the rafters, empty. No one there. Ye woke them. They were sleeping, oh, the old blood. Now they remember. The words came from inside the walls. He pressed both hands to his ears, screaming, "Stop it! Stop!" The walls began to breathe, expanding, contracting. Plaster cracked, dust falling like snow. And then, a single, dry laugh echoed from the doorway. Slow. Mocking. He shone the light down the attic stairs. There, halfway up, crouched a small boy. Maybe 6 years old. Grinning too wide. His eyes were solid black. He started giggling, a high, sharp sound, and then 7 more joined in from the dark below. The laughing boys. They came scrambling up the stairs on all fours, faces twisted in glee. Ewan screamed, grabbing the nearest thing, a rusted lantern, and hurled it. It shattered, flames licking across the steps. The children stopped, their laughter turning into a shrill harmony, then burst apart into smoke, black and oily, leaving only a faint echo of laughter that didn't fade, just circled the room. Ewan fell to his knees, gasping, tears streaking his face. His ears rang with the echoes. Then, slowly, something colder seeped in, a whisper not in his mind, but inside his blood. Thaid will agi. They are all waking. He crawled toward the window, forcing it open, desperate for air. Outside, the forest blazed faintly with light, not fire, but something beneath the trees. Shapes moving between the trunks. Tall, slow, silent. And in the far distance, half hidden by the mist, he saw Morag Kerr, standing at the edge of the forest. She raised a knife toward the sky, old, curved, glowing faintly red. Then the world went white. When he came to, he was lying on the floor beside the hearth. The fire had gone out. His watch read 10:07 p.m. The air smelled of burnt metal. He looked at the window. A black handprint was burned into the glass, long fingers, scorched deep. He reached out, trembling, and touched it. The clock on the mantel ticked once. Twice. Then stopped at 29 seconds. The second hand refused to move. Ewan blinked, once, twice, and when he looked back, there was a figure in the reflection of the window. Not his own. The pale gentleman, standing directly behind him. He didn't think, just acted. He slammed his head against the wall, pain bursting behind his eyes. Darkness flooded in, and when it cleared, the reflection was gone. Only the scorched handprint remained. And a voice, faint as breathing, whispering from somewhere deep in the house. The salt won't save ye, Doctor. Not from what's hungry. Outside, the wind shifted. The fog turned black at its core. The forest began to hum, a low vibration that shook the windows. Ewan stumbled toward the stairs, blood dripping from his temple. He could hear laughter again. The same 7 voices. Circling the house. He grabbed the flashlight and aimed it through the window. 7 figures ran past the croft, blurred, inhumanly fast, completing a circle around the house every 3 seconds. Each time they passed, the lights flickered. The third time, they were faster. 2.5 seconds. The fourth, 2. Each lap faster than the last, until they were just streaks of shadow and noise. He backed away, tripping over the spilled salt bowl. Grains scattered. The line broke again. The laughter stopped. Total silence. Then, one soft voice, close to his ear. Ye can't outrun the compact, Ewan. He turned. Nothing there. But on the floor, among the spilled salt, something had been carved by an unseen hand, letters traced in perfect Gaelic script, wet with blood. Midnight. Part 2, Segment 1, N.A. Belach Ger, The Laughing Boys. I haven't slept since the glass broke. The smell of burnt salt and deer hide still clings to the walls. Every time the wind hits the croft, it moans like a body shifting beneath the floorboards. It's nearly midnight now, but the darkness outside has weight, like something pressing down on the roof. I've sealed every crack I can find. Salt crosses on the windowsills, rope strung in rough knots above each doorframe. The oil lamp flickers on the table beside my field recorder. Its battery is almost dead, the red light pulsing like a weak heartbeat. Morag hasn't returned since she left me with that knife and the warning about feeding the compact. I think of her every few minutes, imagine her watching from the tree line with that old nurse's calm. Maybe she's waiting for the moment I fail. Maybe that's the test. There's a sound outside, faint, like a heel scraping frost. I turn off the recorder and listen. Nothing but wind. The kind that comes from far up the glen, bending the pines and carrying a whisper that almost sounds like laughter. Then I hear it again. Higher this time. A boy's giggle. It echoes once, twice, then multiplies, thin, bright, and wrong. I grab the torch and move to the window. The glass still bears the soot-marked handprint left by Ben earlier tonight. It's flaked now, like old ash. Through the distortion of the pane, the yard looks empty, just the ring of salt, the dead lantern, the rotting fence posts beyond. Then movement, fast, a blow low to the ground. Something darts past the window. My throat goes dry. I step back and kill the light. My reflection in the glass fades until it's only darkness again. The laughter starts in earnest. 7 voices, all children, circling the house in uneven rhythm. It's not joyous laughter, it's manic, overlapping, metallic. As if played through broken radios, skipping in loops. They are running. I can hear their feet on the wet grass, bare, slapping lightly. Once around the croft, then again. I count, 1, 2. They're faster the second time. On the third pass, the walls tremble slightly, as if the sound itself has weight. I remember Ferg's words, if ye ever hear laughter where there should be none, don't answer. Don't smile back. I'm not smiling. My jaw is locked tight. I clutch the knife handle so hard the leather creaks. The fourth pass, louder, nearer. One of them brushes the window, I hear tiny fingernails dragging down the glass. I want to look, but I know the rule, don't meet their eyes. The fifth lap comes quicker. The sound now less human, the laughter stretched thin into shrieks. I can't help it. I look. 7 small figures tearing through the fog. Thin, grayish limbs, faces pale as candle wax. Their mouths stretched too wide, not mouths anymore, just black crescents cutting across their faces. As they run, they don't breathe, the laughter spills continuously, endless. The torchlight trembles in my hand. I sweep it toward the nearest window, and for a heartbeat the beam catches one of them. A boy no older than 8. Mud-smeared suit, no eyes. Just sockets full of writhing shadows. The instant the light hits him, the laughter stutters. His head jerks, body convulsing like a puppet on snapped strings. Then he bursts apart, not into blood or bone, but smoke. Thick, black, reeking of burnt iron. The others stop running. The world holds its breath. Then, all at once, they scream, 7 voices fusing into one shriek that claws through my skull. I fall back, hands over my ears, but the sound's inside my head now, vibrating behind my eyes. The door rattles violently. I crawl toward it, knife still in hand. The iron latch trembles, salt spilling from the cracks in the wood. Something presses against the door, something light but persistent, like small palms drumming. Open up, a voice says. A boy's voice, calm this time. It's cold out here. Another joins, please, mister. We are lost. Then all 7, we are lost. Their words layer over each other until they are almost music. I grip the handle, feel the metal pulse faintly under my skin, heat radiating from the other side. Don't answer. Don't engage. I back away. My breath fogs in the air though the fire still burns in the stove. The temperature's dropping fast, each exhale turning to frost that drifts toward the ceiling. The laughter returns, slower now, a rhythm like a taunt. And then, silence. Total. Even the wind has stopped. I move to the window again, half expecting to see empty grass. But instead, 7 shapes stand motionless in a semicircle facing the house. Their heads tilt at identical angles, mouths fixed open in that black grin. The one in front, the smallest, lifts his hand and points at me. Not through the window. Directly at me. The glass between us begins to mist from the inside, a pale bloom spreading outward until I see words forming in the condensation. Letters carved by an invisible fingertip. 30 seconds. My pulse spikes. 30 seconds for what? The house groans. The clock above the hearth, the one that stopped at 29 earlier, ticks once, then twice. Then everything happens at once. A thunderclap of laughter. The 7 sprint toward the croft, feet slapping, shrieking. The windows rattle, dust falling from the beams. I stumble backward, grab the hunting lamp, twist the knob until it flares to life, a blinding white beam. Aim it straight through the glass. The light hits the first of them, vaporizes him instantly. Then another, and another. They burst into black smoke one by one, dissolving into the fog. But even as they vanish, the sound doesn't fade, it echoes in my skull, mocking. When it's over, I'm alone again. The yard is empty except for the smoldering outlines of 7 small figures burned into the frost. I open the door, step out, and see them, 7 baby teeth, half buried in the grass, all pointing inward toward the house. A wind rises suddenly, scattering the salt line. The air smells like iron and old seaweed. Somewhere beyond the trees, something larger moves. Heavy. Slow. Watching. I retreat inside, slam the door, and reapply the salt. My hands won't stop shaking. I try to breathe, to steady the knife, to tell myself I've survived the worst. But the night isn't over. Because through the crack in the shutter, far down the slope, I see a light, tall, pale, moving between the pines. And with it, the faint echo of a voice I've known all my life. My mother's. She's calling my name. Part 2, Segment 2, The Listeners. The house hasn't moved for a long time. The wind has stopped, the night outside gone flat and airless. The lantern on the table burns steady, no flicker, no hiss. I listen for the laughter to return, but the silence presses harder than sound ever did. The floorboards tick under my weight when I shift. I freeze. The sound lingers too long in the air, echoing like it has nowhere to go. Then it fades. The clock on the mantel has stopped again. Its hands hover at 11:11. I check the windows. Every one sealed with salt and rope. The frost beyond them lies unbroken. My breath moves in front of me, pale threads in the still air. Somewhere above the rafters, the roof creaks, once, then nothing. The silence thickens. It's not absence, it's presence. Like the quiet itself is watching. A drop hits the table beside the lamp. I turn. Another falls, landing on the open notebook. Red. I look up. On the ceiling above me, something wet gleams. The plaster bulges slightly, a pale blister forming in the center. It pulses once. Then it tears open. A human ear slips through, slick with blood, and clings to the wood. It twitches. Turns toward me. I back away. The lamp flame shivers for the first time. Another sound, faint tearing, from the corner where the beam meets the wall. The paint splits open there, and a second ear unfolds, larger, torn along the edge. Then another, and another, blooming like pale fungi along the ceiling. They all tilt toward the noise of my breath. I hold it. The room listens. The silence hums faintly now, a pressure against my skull. My own heartbeat sounds like thunder in my chest. One of the ears on the ceiling leaks a steady thread of blood that lands on the stove, tsskk, steam rising, a hiss. Every ear twitches toward it. The hiss stops. The silence returns heavier than before. I take one step backward. The floorboard complains softly under my heel. The sound ripples through the air, almost visible, and every ear turns in unison to face me. I can't move again. Something crawls down the wall, not an ear this time but the faint trace of veins spreading outward, darkening the plaster, running from one ear to the next like thin roots joining them. The air smells of copper and wet wood. The lamp flickers once, twice. In the weak light, I see movement beyond the window. Not outside, inside the glass. A shape passes behind the frost, sliding through the reflection. For a moment I think I see my own face there, but the mouth isn't mine. The flame dies. Darkness floods the room. I can still see the ears, pale against the ceiling, outlined by faint red seams of blood. The house breathes. Wood expanding, contracting. Then, a whisper. Not words. Just air passing through flesh. All of them exhaling at once. The sound moves across the ceiling, down the walls, closer, until it's just behind me. Something cold touches my neck. I jerk forward, knocking over the lamp. The glass shatters, oil spreading across the floor, dark and glinting. In that brief spill of reflection, I see the outline of something tall standing in the doorway. The ears all twist toward it. It doesn't move at first. Just stands there, a darker shape within the dark. Its shoulders brush the top of the frame. Then it exhales. The air shifts. Every flame in the house, every ember in the stove, goes out at once. I can't see it now, but I can hear it, slow steps across the floor. Wood groaning under impossible weight. It stops inches from me. A hand, cold, wide, heavy as stone, presses against the wall beside my head. The boards creak, bending inward. I raise the knife, but the dark swallows the motion. The smell hits next, damp earth, rotting leaves, old seaweed, and something like burnt metal. It inhales. The sound pulls at my clothes, my hair, the air itself. Somewhere above us, one of the ears bursts, a wet pop, and the others start bleeding freely, steady streams pattering on the floor. Each drop lands louder than it should, echoing as though falling into a well. The thing moves again, not walking, sliding. I feel it brush past me, enormous, silent. The air behind it collapses like a door slamming shut. The floor begins to crack. Slow, deliberate sounds of wood tearing. I can't tell if it's the creature or the house itself. Another step. The entire frame of the croft groans. Dust drifts from the rafters. The pressure builds, my ears ring, then burst into static. The static becomes whispers. The same pitch as before, but louder now, directly inside the skull. The words form slowly. Not speech. A sound that means down. I obey before I understand. I drop to my knees. The floorboards bulge beneath me. A crack runs across the room, splitting the boards open, revealing the cellar hatch below. The same place I'd locked earlier. The whisper stops. The air stills again. Then comes a new sound. Something dragging above, beam splitting, nails tearing free. A body, heavy, moving through the upper floor. I crawl to the hatch, rip it open, descend the ladder one rung at a time. The darkness below feels thicker, closer. I close the hatch over my head, leaving only a thin line of light through the seam. Upstairs, the thing is breaking the house. Each impact lands heavier than the last. Wood cracking, plaster falling. The ears on the ceiling above the hatch squirm and fall loose, landing near my feet with wet thuds. I crouch in the dark, knife against my chest, breath shallow. Another crash. Then the unmistakable sound of bones snapping. It's deliberate. Slow. One at a time. When it stops, the silence that follows feels alive again. I listen. Something leans against the hatch from above. The boards bend. Dust rains down on my face. Then, nothing. Only the sound of the wind returning at last, moving faintly through the gaps in the house like a sigh of relief. The ears on the floor go still. I stay there in the dark, not moving, counting heartbeats until I lose track of them. Segment 3, The Siren of the Pines. I don't remember when the house stopped creaking. The dark feels different now, thinner, like breath fogged on glass. The air in the cellar is cold enough to burn the skin. I can taste salt and rust with every inhale. The hatch above me hasn't moved in hours. The silence sits on my shoulders like weight. My limbs have gone stiff, but I don't dare shift my position. The knife rests across my knees, the blade dulled from the salt crusting along its edge. Then I hear it. Not a crash, not the groan of timber, something lighter, human. A voice, soft as wind through hair. Ewan. It's my mother's voice. The sound comes from beyond the cellar door, not above, but farther out, past the croft walls, where the pines begin. I know what it is. I know what it means. But the sound finds something deep, something that remembers warmth. Ewan, love, you've done so well. I push my palms into the dirt, press down until my nails fill with soil. The rope burns faintly against my wrist where I've tied it, the stag-hide coil Ferg gave me. I pull it tighter, binding my hands to the iron pipe beside the ladder. The voice drifts closer. Come outside, darling. It's safe now. The cellar door glows faintly at the edges, a pale grey light seeping through the cracks. I shake my head. The words scrape out dry, barely sound at all. No. The light brightens, pulsing like breath. Do you remember the field behind our house? The voice lilts, almost sings. How you used to hide from the thunder under my shawl? My heart slams once. The detail is too exact. I close my eyes, but behind them the memory bleeds in, rain against glass, the smell of peat smoke, her hand smoothing my hair. You can come home now. The rope creaks as I strain against it. I can feel the fibers stretch. The cellar door's outline shimmers, faintly green now, the color of moss in sunlight. Step out, Ewan. Her voice isn't alone anymore. Something moves beneath it, a second tone, deeper, like a river under ice. It hums in perfect rhythm with my heartbeat. I press my forehead to the dirt floor. My teeth ache. The sound crawls inside me. Then silence again. No, not silence. A rustling above, the soft drag of feet across the floorboards. The cellar hatch shifts slightly, dust spilling through the seam. I look up. The faint grey light filters down through the cracks. Something passes over it, blocking it for a second, then another. Shadows. Many of them. The voice returns, right at the hatch now. Ewan, please. I'm cold. The latch vibrates. Once. Twice. I brace the rope with both arms, lean back, digging my heels into the dirt. The wood strains. Then it stops. For a moment, I think it's gone. Then I hear breathing, just above me. Shallow, patient, in perfect time with mine. A shape leans over the crack. A line of liquid falls, hits my cheek. It's not water. It's warm. It smells faintly of pine resin and something sweet, like decay. The light flickers. The glow beyond the hatch flares brighter, then softer, pulsing in slow waves, drawing shadows along the walls of the cellar. I see them now, long, thin figures moving between the boards of the floor above, pacing. Their feet never make a sound. Then the voice speaks again, louder this time. "Let me in, my son." The air collapses inward, the pressure so sharp my ears pop. The walls of the cellar groan, dust raining down in thin streams. The rope at my wrist tightens on its own, constricting, the hide twisting like it's alive. I scream, pull back, the fibers cutting deep into skin. "Don't fight it, Ewan." The voice softens again, warm now, intimate. "You're only hurting yourself." The glow above the hatch bleeds brighter. I see her silhouette there, her real outline this time. The slope of the shoulders, the long hair, the dress she was buried in. She kneels over the hatch, her face hidden by the light. "Please. I just want to hold you." I shake my head, but something inside me falters. The stillness presses too hard, and my hands move before I think. One pulls, testing the rope's strength. The hide groans. Fibers snap one by one. Her voice lowers, almost tender. "That's it. You've done enough, my clever boy." My eyes blow. I can't tell if it's tears or blood from where the rope's bitten in. The first knot breaks. A gust of cold air floods the cellar, carrying with it the scent of the pines, sharp, clean, endless. I look up through the hatch and see the night sky for the first time in hours. It's wrong. The stars shimmer like they are underwater, their light bending toward the house instead of away. She stands above me now, full form visible, framed in that warped starlight. Her face is perfect. Exactly as I remember. Too perfect. Her eyes reflect no light. Her mouth doesn't move when she speaks. "Step into the forest, Ewan. It's almost dawn." The words don't sound like speech anymore. They are rhythm, vibration, the pulse of the pines outside. The rope slips another inch. My fingers twitch. She extends a hand through the light, and for a second it looks like skin. Then the surface ripples, and I see the texture beneath, bark, slick with sap that pulses like veins. The cellar walls shudder. The dirt floor ripples under me. "Ewan." Her tone drops to a whisper now, each syllable humming through the air like a string plucked under my ribs. "If you stay, you'll die for nothing." Her hand inches closer to my face. The rope frays. A sound pierces the air, sharp, metallic. A crow's call. Then another. The first streak of dawn cuts through the window above the croft. Pale light slips down through the boards, severing her shadow from the wall. She jerks back, a scream that isn't human tearing through the house. The glow implodes, drawing the light inward like it's being sucked into the earth. The cellar door slams shut. Silence. Only the wind remains, real wind this time, rattling through the loose boards, carrying the smell of sea and frost. I collapse backward, rope still half-bound around my wrist, blood pooling at the edge of the dirt. The knife lies beside me, dull and useless. Above, something moves slowly across the floor, not her anymore, but something heavier, dragging. Then a voice, lower, older, scraping through the boards. "Welcome to Dunraith, Doctor." And then it's gone. I don't know how long I stay like that. The light keeps growing, grey into white, until I can see the cracks in the walls and the color of the rope again. The silence has changed. It's not empty now. It's waiting. Part 3, Segment 1, The Price of Dawn. When I finally open my eyes, the world is the color of ash. The cellar smells of iron and peat, and the air trembles with the faint hum of wind slipping through the floorboards. My mouth is dry, the skin around my wrist stiff with blood. The rope lies slack now, broken, the ends blackened like they were burned. I climb the ladder slowly. Each rung moans under my weight. When my head breaks through the hatch, the light blinds me, not the pale moonlight I expect, but a dim, raw grey of dawn, seeping in through the cracks like smoke. The house is ruined. Every mirror, every window, every reflective surface has shattered inward. Salt lines are disturbed, ground into the boards like tracks from something heavy. The smell of resin hangs in the air, sharp and sweet. I step into the kitchen. The floorboards creak beneath my bare feet. Outside the windows, the hills are pale and slick with mist. The pines stand motionless, a black wall against the rising light. My breath clouds. The fire's gone cold. Only a thin curl of smoke still drifts from the hearth, hanging low like fog. On the table, my recorder lies in pieces. Its tape has unspooled, a long black vein stretching across the floor toward the door. Something has written in the dust beside it, a single word, traced by a trembling hand. Morag. I reach for the door handle. It's still warm. Outside, the world feels hollowed out. No birds. No wind. Just the slow hiss of the sea far down the valley. The light is flat, the kind of dawn that feels like it's never really begun. The Crofts' yard is a graveyard of salt circles and broken glass. The windmill is still turning, though there's no wind. I see her. Morag Kerr stands in the middle of the field. She's motionless, a dark shape against the mist, her white hair whipping around her face. In her right hand, she holds something long and thin, a knife, or maybe a key. I walk toward her without meaning to. The ground is soft, spongy underfoot, the grass soaked with dew that smells faintly metallic. When I'm 10 feet away, she turns. Her eyes are clear, too clear, the blue so pale it looks silver. Her voice cuts through the air like a blade through frost. Ye saw her, didn't ye? My throat tightens. I can't speak. She called ye, Morag continues, her expression unreadable. And ye listened. I didn't, the word dies halfway. Morag lifts her chin toward the house. Ye broke the seal. I look back. The roofline leans slightly now, the chimney cracked in half. Smoke curls upward in a single thread, thin as a whisper. The compact's awake again, she says quietly. Just as it was the year my gran died. She steps closer, the knife glinting faintly in her hand. It's old, the blade short, etched with symbols like twisted branches. I take a step back. What is this, Morag? What compact? Her mouth curves into something between a smile and a grimace. A promise made before God left this place. The mist around us stirs. Shapes move within it, faint, gliding, like figures walking beneath shallow water. I blink, and they are gone. Morag points the knife at the ground. Blood for salt. Salt for silence. That's how we kept them down. Her gaze sharpens. But now they've fed again. And they all want the debt repaid. I hear something behind me, a faint crunch of footsteps. When I turn, no one's there. Just the mist, folding in on itself. You don't understand, I whisper. I didn't invite them. Morag's eyes narrow. They don't need invitation. Just weakness. She steps forward and presses the knife's point lightly against my palm. Every 77 years, one of us must bind the compact anew. That's why I'm still here, Dr. McRae. Waiting for ye. The blade draws a line of blood, thin and bright. I pull back, but she doesn't let go. Her grip is like iron. The last time it was my gran, she says softly. Now it's your turn. The fog thickens, curling around her like a living thing. Her face begins to blur, edges dissolving into the mist. Behind her, something stirs in the pines, a dark shape, massive, shifting between the trunks. The light bends around it. Morag lowers her head. Do ye hear them? I do. A low murmur rising from the ground, hundreds of voices whispering through the soil, all speaking Gaelic older than I can understand. The earth trembles under my feet. Morag raises the knife, holds it out flat between us. Ye already been marked. I look down at my wrist. The rope burns from last night have darkened, forming a ring of blackened scars that pulse faintly with each heartbeat. She nods. They chose ye. The scholar. The listener. The one who'd write it all down. The mist tightens, swirling faster, the air turning heavy with salt. Morag's voice is steady. Ye can fight it, or ye can feed it. Either way, it will take ye. The ground cracks open beneath us, just a hairline fracture at first, but it spreads with a sound like dry thunder. Through the gap, I glimpse something moving, red dust, crawling, alive. N.A. Scythian N.A. Talam. The earth spirits. Morag slams the knife into the soil, sealing the crack with a hiss of steam. The sound makes my ears ring. When she looks up again, her eyes are wet. It's starting sooner than I thought. She steps closer and presses something into my hand, a folded strip of goatskin parchment, brittle and dark. The writing on it glows faintly crimson. If ye break one rule, she murmurs, ye'll no, just die, ye'll feed the compact. The same words from 2 nights ago. But the rules aren't what they were, she adds, voice trembling. They've changed. They always change. She steps back, turns toward the forest. Where are you going? I call after her. To end what I started, she says. Or die trying. The mist swallows her in 3 steps. I stand there until I can't hear her anymore. The valley is silent again, but not empty, there's a rhythm beneath it now, faint and deep, like something breathing beneath the soil. When I finally look down, the parchment has changed. New words shimmer in wet blood along the bottom edge. Samhain after next, you take her place. A gust of wind rises suddenly, scattering the salt from the broken lines around the croft. The sound it makes is almost laughter. I look toward the forest, where the mist folds like waves, and for a moment I think I see her, Morag, or what's left of her, walking between the pines, her body trailing a line of light like molten glass. Then she's gone, and only the whisper remains. The dawn keeps growing, but the world stays grey. Somewhere in the hills, a crow screams once and goes silent. And behind me, from the dark mouth of the cellar, I hear a voice, faint, trembling, childlike, whisper in Gaelic. Tha thu daisel son and ath fear. You are ready for the next one. Segment 2, The Compact. The path to the standing stones isn't a path anymore. It's a scar. The grass lies pressed flat as if something vast has crawled across it during the night. The mist clings low, heavy, and grey, and the ground squelches under every step. My boots are soaked through before I've even passed the gate. The goatskin parchment burns faintly in my pocket, warm against my thigh. The letters pulse with their own rhythm, too steady to be heartbeat, too uneven to be wind. Dunraith is nowhere in sight now. The croft, the fence, the hills, all swallowed by fog. Only the faint shadow of the standing circle ahead gives shape to the world. The closer I move, the colder it gets. Not natural cold, this is deep, marrow deep, the kind that makes sound thin out and light dim. The air feels thick, almost wet, like breathing through cloth. The first stone rises out of the mist like a shipwrecked mast. Then another. Then the whole circle, 13 stones in all, black with lichen, slick with dew. They tilt slightly inward, like heads bowed in prayer. At the center lies Morag Kerr. She's on her knees, her coat spread out behind her like a fallen banner. Her white hair has come loose, tangled around her shoulders. The knife lies in front of her, its blade buried halfway in the soil. She doesn't look at me when I approach. Her breath comes in short, visible bursts. Around her feet, the ground moves, slow, pulsing, alive. Morag, I whisper. She doesn't turn. It's awake now. Her voice sounds small inside the fog, like she's speaking underwater. I move closer, every sound dampened, my footsteps, my breath, even the rasp of the parchment when I touch it. What is it? I ask. Morag raises her eyes, and I almost don't recognize her. The silver has drained from her irises, leaving them colorless, pale as glass. The compact, she says. The first promise. She points to the knife, to the carved runes glinting along its edge. They wrote it in salt and blood, long before your kind wrote history. One to bind, one to bleed, one to remember. Her fingers tremble as she grips the hilt. My gran bound it. I bled it. And now you'll remember. Before I can speak, the fog inside the circle thickens, condensing, folding, drawing in toward the center. It doesn't move like mist anymore. It moves like breath. A hum rises from the stones. Low at first, almost inaudible. Then louder, vibrating through the ground, up through my legs, into my bones. I stumble back. The stones seem taller now, leaning inward, their shadows stretching unnaturally far. Morag lifts the knife high above her head. Her voice breaks, but the words are clear. By the salt of the sea, by the bone of the stag, by the breath of the living, I hold the line. The fog recoils, then surges forward, collapsing inward to the center. A shape forms within it, tall, uneven, built from shadow and light, flickering like it can't decide what form to keep. It's not one of the entities. It's all of them. N.A. Batakian Falama's hollow eyes glimmer through its chest, N.A. Gathenbrave's echoing mouths shimmer around its throat, the elongated hands of Ndubscale drag through the dirt below. The figure bends toward Morag, soundlessly, like gravity has chosen her alone. The hum grows louder, now a deep, rhythmic pulse, ancient and mechanical. The stones themselves vibrate. Morag turns to me, eyes wide. Take the knife. I don't move. My body won't obey. My feet are rooted, my pulse thrumming in my throat. She screams. Take it, Ewan. I lunge forward and grab the hilt. The moment my fingers close around it, the world drops away. Everything freezes. The wind, the sound, even the fog, suspended mid-motion. I can see each droplet hanging in the air like glass beads. Morag's face is locked in a grimace, her mouth open in a word that hasn't yet escaped. And behind her, the shape shifts, not dissolving, but rearranging, its outline flickering between human and animal, between solid and hollow. A voice, not heard, but felt, presses into my skull. You came to listen. The tone is neither male nor female, neither one nor many. It vibrates like a plucked wire through my teeth. You heard their names. You spoke them. Now you must hold them. The air turns sharp. The knife grows heavy in my hand, its weight increasing until my wrist shakes. The parchment in my pocket sears against my skin. I can smell burned leather. I try to drop the blade, but my hand won't release it. The runes along the metal pulse with a dim red light, matching the rhythm of the thing's voice. The line breaks. The world forgets. You are the remembering. The world lurches back into motion. Wind slams through the circle, a scream made of earth and salt. Morag shouts something, words I can't catch, and the shape shrieks, recoiling. The knife's hilt burns in my palm. My vision narrows, darkens at the edges. I drive the blade into the soil where the ground pulses. The scream cuts off instantly. Then silence. Everything, the fog, the hum, even the cold, vanishes, leaving only still air and the faint hiss of wind through grass. When I open my eyes, I am alone. Morag is gone. The stones stand silent, their surfaces glistening with dew. The ground at the center is blackened, the earth fused into glass. I stagger forward, half expecting her body, but there's nothing. Only her coat folded neatly beside the melted soil, and beneath it, a small bowl of salt, perfectly white, untouched by moisture. The knife lies beside it. Its blade has turned dull gray, the runes faint now, almost invisible. I kneel, pick it up. The handle is cold again, lifeless. Something moves under the glass. Not a reflection, movement. Red dust swirling faintly beneath the surface, trapped but restless. Na Scythian Na Talum, still whispering below. I stand there until the light changes, until the mist thins and the horizon opens just enough to reveal the sea beyond the hills. Dunwraith glimmers in the distance, small and colorless, smoke rising from 1 or 2 chimneys. Normal. Ordinary. But the wind carries a new scent now, sharp, metallic, unmistakable. Blood. When I look down, my hand is bleeding again. The wound from the rope has reopened, the skin split along the old scar. The blood runs down my wrist and drips onto the bowl of salt. The crystals hiss, dissolve instantly. A line of new text appears along the knife's blade, faint and wet as ink. Bound by memory. Sealed by blood. The air grows still. I glance at the stones. Their shadows stretch long across the grass, too long for the hour. And in the far distance, near the edge of the forest, something tall and white watches from the tree line, the curve of antlers catching the light before fading back into the pines. Fear ban. Waiting. The mist begins to roll again, crawling down the slope toward Dunwraith. I wipe the knife clean, slide it into my coat, and start walking. Every step feels heavier than the last. The path isn't a scar anymore. It's a vein. And somewhere deep beneath it, something starts to beat. Segment 3, The Last Rule. The road back to Dunwraith is almost gone. The mist eats the edges of everything, turning fences into bones and the ground into smoke. My boots hit mud, then stone, then mud again. I don't know how long I've been walking. The air smells of salt and rain. The knife pulls at my coat like a weight. The town emerges piece by piece. Roofs first. Then the outline of the pier. Then light, faint, wavering, yellow. Someone's awake. The bell over Ferg McIver's shop door jingles before I even touch it. The sound feels wrong, too bright in the dead air. Inside, the lamps still burn. Rows of rifles and harpoons hang against the wall, each polished, each pointed toward the door. The place smells of oil and brine. Ferg stands behind the counter. He looks older than he did 2 days ago. His hands are red up to the wrists, and there's salt crusted in his beard. He nods once when he sees me. Ye made it through. I set the knife on the counter. It lands with a dull sound, blade gray, handle slick with blood. Morag's gone. I can. He reaches beneath the counter and pulls out a bowl, plain iron, half full of salt. He sets it beside the knife. Then it's your turn. The floor vibrates. A low hum rises through the boards. Bottles rattle on the shelves. Ferg doesn't look away from me. They'll come before noon, he says. Always do, when the binding's fresh. What are they? He gives a tired half-smile. Old debt. Same as the rest of us. Outside, The fog presses against the windows. Shapes move in it, tall, narrow, flickering like shadows cast by fire. Ferg takes the knife, wipes it with his sleeve, and slices a thin line across his own palm. The blood runs quick and dark. He lets it fall into the bowl of salt. It hisses, turning pink. He pushes the bowl toward me. Do the same. I shake my head. I don't. The windows go black. Every lamp in the shop flickers. The hum grows louder. The glass jars on the shelves begin to tremble. Now, Ferg says. I take the knife and press it to my wrist. The skin parts easier than I expect. Blood pools fast, steaming in the cold air. I hold my arm over the bowl. The first drop hits, and the sound is like metal striking stone. The salt liquefies, bubbles, and then stills. Ferg exhales. It's done. But it isn't. The sound beneath us doesn't stop. It deepens, becomes rhythm. Boom. 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 Like a heartbeat under the floor. The lamps burst. Glass rains down. The light dies. Only the faint glow from the bowl remains, red and wet. The liquid moves in slow circles, like something stirring it from below. Ferg backs away. His eyes dart to the window. They are early. The door creaks open before he reaches it. Cold floods in. 7 small shapes stand outside, Nablh Gare, the laughing boys. Their mouths stretch impossibly wide. Teeth white and sharp as shells. They laugh. The sound rattles my teeth, too high, too fast, layered 7 times over. Ferg grabs a rifle, fires. The shot splits one of them in half. The body collapses into black smoke that crawls back toward the others. Get to the storeroom, he shouts. We run. The floorboards tilt under our feet as if the building's breathing. The door to the back room slams itself open. Inside, the air smells of seawater. Barrels of salt are stacked against the walls. The light bulb above us flickers, sputters, then steadies to a dim orange. Ferg jams the door shut with a crowbar. They can't cross salt in bulk, he mutters, panting. The laughter outside stops. Silence. Then, a new sound. Soft. Wet. Like something dragging itself through sand. Ferg freezes. No. The floor darkens. Lines of moisture crawl across the boards, red dust carried on liquid, moving fast, spreading. The Scythian Talum. Dust dwellers. They seep through the cracks, climbing the walls in veins of red. Up. Ferg shouts. He grabs a ladder, shoves it under the trapdoor leading to the attic. I climb first. My hands slip on the rungs, my blood makes the wood slick. The air up here tastes like iron and smoke. Ferg follows, dragging the bowl of salt with him. He sets it between us. The liquid inside pulses once, twice. Then a voice fills the room, not loud, just there, woven into the air. The line breaks. Feed the compact. The attic walls bulge inward. Dust falls from the rafters. Ferg grips the rifle, knuckles white. They are in the foundations. The boards under him split. A hand of black shadow punches through, grabs his leg, pulls. He screams. I lunge forward, catch his arm. The grip is slick with sweat and blood. The thing below drags harder, wood cracking under strain. Ewan. The bowl of salt tips over. The blood inside spills across the floor, bright and alive. It snakes toward the hole. Ferg's body jerks once, then stills. His eyes roll back. The shadow pulls him down, and the floor closes like water. Only the rifle remains, split clean in two. The wind outside rises into a howl. The attic window shatters inward. The mist pours through, thick, black-veined, moving against gravity. It climbs the walls, creeps along the beams. I stumble back, knife raised, though it's useless. Then I see her. Morag, standing outside in the fog, face lit by the faint glow of dawn. Her eyes are empty sockets filled with light. She lifts a hand and points to me. Her voice echoes through the broken glass. Finish it. I look down. The blood and salt on the floor form a circle around me, accidental, maybe, but perfect. The fog slams against it and stops. The edge hisses, steam rising. I raise the knife and cut deeper into my wrist, spilling more blood into the ring. The fog convulses. The whole attic shakes. By the salt of the sea, I whisper, though I don't know why. By the bone of the stag. By the breath of the living. The words come from somewhere else, ancient and sure. The mist screams, 1,000 voices, one note, rising until it becomes light. White light. Soundless. The world folds inward. When it unfolds again, I'm standing in the middle of the street. The sun has risen, pale, distant, cold. The town is quiet. The windows of every house glint with salt crystals, like frost. Ferg's shop is gone. In its place stands a ring of scorched earth. The knife in my hand is new again. Clean. Silver. The runes bright as fire. At my feet lies the goatskin parchment. The writing has changed once more. Samhain after next, the compact must feed. The hand that binds must bleed. The blood on my wrist has already dried to salt. A wind moves through the street, carrying the faint sound of laughter, 7 voices, distant, receding into the trees. I look toward the forest. For a heartbeat, I see her again, Morag, walking among the pines. She turns, smiles, and fades. Behind her, deeper in the wood, the white shape of Mfearben moves slowly between the trunks. Watching. Waiting. The sun catches on his antlers. And then everything goes still. The air smells clean. The silence feels too exact. I realize what's missing. My reflection. In the window of the ruined shopfront, there's only light, no shape, no face, no me. The glass hums faintly, vibrating in rhythm with my heartbeat. Then, softly, from somewhere beyond the trees, in Gaelic older than the hills. Fealty dache, Morag. Welcome home, Morag.